Shocking security breaches in Taiwan's military as aspiring for China is uncovered. More drama in the mass recall campaigns, this time fraudulent petition signatures. Could chips be the next thing hit by tariffs? Companies work hard to keep business going as levies loom. Plus,
中国影响香港的方式，其实一定程度上还是影响了台湾。
Taipei stands with Hong Kong in a new exhibit documenting Hong Kongers' fight for democracy. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao. We begin with national security news. Details of an alleged Chinese espionage ring in Taiwan have emerged in an exclusive report from Taiwan's RW News. It lays out infiltration from within the military police to those guarding Taiwan's president himself. For more on this story, we go live now to our reporter standing by outside the Military Police Command headquarters here in Taipei, Chris Gordon. Chris, what can you tell us about who was involved in these cases?
Well, as you said, Leslie, I'm here outside Military Police Command. Now, the military police are responsible for protecting military bases around the country, as well as the presidential office and the capital city. But the focus here today is on alleged security breaches within their own ranks and others. Now, back in February, Taiwan's High Court sentenced 10 people, including active military personnel, for violating crimes by spying for China. Now, according to this new report, those people include 3 members of the Shilin Military Police Unit, a unit that was recently praised for cracking other espionage cases, 3 sailors from important missile boat squadrons, and, Leslie, even a member of the unit that protects Taiwan's president.
So what are they reported to have done that's got people so up in arms?
Well, the list is long, but it includes allegedly passing documents and other information to China for money, including taking photographs of classified information inside the presidential office building. But I think what might draw attention this time is the alleged surrender videos that the report claims some of these soldiers made. Now, to be clear, we have not seen any of these videos, but the report alleges that they included active duty military personnel in their uniforms, in military facilities, waving China's national flag, saying on camera that they oppose Taiwan independence and that they would surrender if there were ever a Chinese invasion. Now, we reached out to the Defense Ministry for a comment on this, and they sent us a short statement which did not confirm or deny any of the specific allegations, but it did acknowledge that the cases are ongoing. And it said that they are investigating the cases, that the people involved have been either dismissed or disciplined, that they have taken measures to prevent leaks and protect military assets, and that they are taking countermeasures to make sure cases like this don't happen again. Now, the case comes as Taiwan is facing an ever-increasing number of prosecutions for espionage for China. In fact, last year, 2024, we saw the most cases ever, with 64 cases being prosecuted. This is more than 30% over the previous year. So I think that this all shows the pervasiveness of Chinese espionage efforts and the difficult work that the Defense Ministry has cut out for it. Leslie?
That's a concerning trend indeed. Thanks, Chris. That was Chris Gordon reporting live from outside Military Police Command. Prosecutors have questioned several people connected to the opposition Kuomintang over alleged recall fraud. It's just the latest in a growingly heated mass recall campaign against dozens of Taiwan's lawmakers that has been plagued by lawsuits and investigations. Authenticity is the name of the game in Taiwan's mass legislator recall movement. Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party and the opposition Kuomintang are locked in a tense campaign to remove each other's lawmakers. Part of that process involves collecting signatures from the public to officially petition the government to initiate a vote to remove legislators from office. But it seems authorities have found problems with the validity of some of those signatures. In the past 2 days, prosecutors have questioned several people connected to the KMT over allegedly fraudulent signatures on petitions. Among them are members of the party's youth league. This comes after allegations that the names of deceased people have showed up on recall petitions targeting DPP lawmakers, including one against the party's Legislative Caucus Secretary General Liao. Wu has attributed blame to KMT leadership, including party chair Eric Zhu.
不要藏起来，朱立伦不要躲在年轻人的身后。
One of the people brought in for questioning works for KMT legislator Luo Ziqiang's office. Luo, who is also targeted in the mass recall campaign, said the investigation was politically motivated.
民进党全面歼灭在野党计划已经正式启动。对民进党对赖清德喊话：不要找我团队的麻烦，要清算冲着罗志强来。
This saga seems far from over. According to the Central Election Commission, or CEC, of the 61 recall petitions it received, 41 potentially contain falsified or the so-called ghost signatures. It has reported all of them to prosecutors for further probing. When asked about this, CEC Chair Li Jinyong didn't reveal if those are campaigns against the KMT or the DPP, but emphasized the commission has treated all recall petitions equally.
我们也希望大家能够以此为鉴，因为第二阶段的联署目前还在进行当中，我们希望大家都要共同遵守法律的规定。
The rest, Li said, the CEC will leave up to judicial authorities. Klein Wang and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus. A cross-party delegation will head to the U.S. later this month for trade talks as new American tariffs loom. Democratic Progressive Party legislator Wang Dingyu announced the list of 17 delegates from Taiwan's 3 main political parties. U.S. President Donald Trump last week paused a 32% tariff on Taiwanese exports for 90 days. Taipei officials are now hoping to minimize the impact on key industries like semiconductors. Taiwan's economy minister says the government is also running simulations to gauge how the tariffs could impact the chip sector. Amid looming chip tariffs from U.S. President Donald Trump, California-based tech firm AMD has unveiled its latest processor using Taiwanese cutting-edge technology. Companies big and small are working to keep business going amid the changing situation. Joyce Zeng reports.
Uncertainty over Washington's tariff policy continues, with U.S. President Donald Trump pledging specific tariffs on sectors like chips and pharmaceuticals soon. For American tech firm AMD, it's moving forward with its business plans, revealing its next-gen chip, codenamed Venice, which uses Taiwanese chip giant TSMC's 2-nanometer process technology, the most advanced on the market so far. The tech is scheduled to hit mass production this year, only in Taiwan. Speaking to university students in Taipei, AMD's CEO Lisa Su reiterated Taiwan's key role in American chip innovation.
From a United States standpoint, I think we do rely on a lot of the Taiwan manufacturing ecosystem, and trying to build resilience into that ecosystem is important.
Chips have so far been exempted from Trump's sweeping so-called reciprocal tariffs, a policy that caused days of market turmoil. That policy, impacting a slew of countries, including Taiwan, now paused for 90 days for negotiations. Just days ago, a U.S. customs notice also exempted key consumer electronics from the levy, sending a wave of relief over the tech sector. Trump's team then backtracking on those exclusions. Taiwan, which has already had its first talk with the U.S., says it's keeping an open mind.
我们现在谈判的态度就是我们采取任何议题都可以谈，但是我们基于国家最高的利益以及产业界能够维持它的国际竞争力2项原则，跟美方做所有的接触。
Trump's inconsistent policy potentially damaging to the U.S.'s credibility in negotiations.
it hurts the talks, honestly. The thing that everyone will want to talk about is commitments. They want clarity. And at this point, we are not seeing clarity from this administration. So it's hard for, let's say, a leader like President Lai to have his team come to Washington and say, look, we're willing to give you all these things, but for what end?
For firms in Taiwan, the now paused tariff Trump imposed on the country's goods was shocking.
32% on Taiwan. Were you expecting that number at all?
Of course not.
Here at Planet Technology, Chair and CEO Jack Chen says they're one of the lucky ones. His company makes devices for internet connectivity, like routers, and the U.S. only accounts for about 10% of his global business. They also fall under the category of electronics recently exempted from tariffs according to U.S. Customs. But with no guarantee of how long that will last, Chen is still making plans around the uncertainty.
Well, you know, the tariff is not controlled by ourselves. We only can follow. We have to keep ourselves always in continuing in the R&D commitment to development the more and more innovative, latest technology into the market. That's what we can do. But in other way, we have to think about to find other opportunity apart from United States.
Chen says his U.S. customers are more like partners, as their business relationships have taken years to build. That's now threatened by the tariffs, which are likely to turn into added costs for his U.S. clients.
As policies coming out of the White House flip back and forth and negotiations are still underway, businesses are focusing on the few things that are certain, like the need to diversify away from the U.S., despite it being the world's largest consumer market. Andy Xue and Joyce Sun in New Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A retired U.S. four-star general, Robert Abrams, is rumored to be advising Taiwan's largest annual military war games. The news has sparked a lot of interest in local media here, but Taiwan's military is downplaying the speculation. It says exchanges with the U.S. are nothing new and are part of its regular annual planning. Jaime Okan has more.
These are images taken of Taiwan's largest computerized war game. For 2 weeks, the country's most senior military leaders are gathering in secret and simulating all aspects of their plan to defend the country against an attack from China.
Maybe one computer. We're going to have to start.
But local media are now speculating that a retired four-star general from the U.S. is also part of this group, serving as a consultant to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Responding to the rumors, Taiwan's Defense Ministry says that military exchanges between Taiwan and the United States are carried out normally according to annual plans. They're maintaining consistency and won't be commenting on individual cases. While the U.S. and Taiwan do not have official ties, Washington does provide weapon systems and training to Taipei to support Taiwan's overall defense strategy.
Almost all of the retired general and flag officers today will have had meaningful leadership experience in Iraq and Afghanistan. Again, this is not the first time that delegations of U.S. military officers, retired and active duty, or diplomats or scholars have gone to Taiwan. My sense is that they have been saying the same basic things for many, many years. As I have argued elsewhere, these haven't really resulted in changes.
Over the past 3 years, Taiwan has been reforming its defense strategy, stepping up its training in quality and quantity. In the past 12 months, Taiwanese soldiers were spotted in Oklahoma training on U.S. weapon systems. And 2 months ago, a name tag of a representative of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command was seen next to Taiwan's defense minister during a high-level defense meeting. And now, if the U.S. has in fact sent this former general to advise on Taiwan's war games, analysts here say it could be a key step in helping both sides align their strategies in the event of a conflict.
担任总长顾问的话，他当然能够全程的来观察这个总长他面临各种处境或者是他处置的状况，那可能会比以前担任观察员看得要全面要深入，可以提供很多联合作战的概念跟想法。
Taiwan has been boosting its arsenal and buying billions of US dollars worth of US weapons to prepare for a possible conflict with China. Many of these systems have already started to be delivered. But analysts say weapons supply and training from the US doesn't indicate Washington's level of support for Taiwan if it were attacked.
So I think we are seeing serious improvements. I do think it is important to put context around all of this, which is to say that at the end of the day, I don't know that this indicates a clear American commitment, because a decision like that in a crisis still rests entirely with the President of the United States.
The computer games are expected to continue until April 18th, and live fire exercises are scheduled for the beginning of July. With continued U.S. assistance, Taiwan's goal is to create an effective defense, ensuring its strategy is fully tested and able to withstand whatever aggression it might face. Luffy Lee and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
Stick with us here on TaiwanPlus News, because coming up after the break, Chinese President Xi Jinping visits Vietnam seeking closer ties with Hanoi.
Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Ian Kavat. Today we examine China's engagement with Africa.
So, unfortunately, this very aggressive form of cultural revolution-like politics in China seems to be moving forward in this modern era.
This grave injustice is happening.
The issue is, what can the U.S. do to help strengthen Taiwan?
We need that kind of mindset to prepare for the warfare.
What implications does this have on Taiwan and the region as a whole?
Just like Ukraine right now, you need people to understand we're doing this for our own country.
Reaffirmed our support for the Taiwanese ability to make their own decisions about their own future.
It's very hard to duplicate in the short time. Taiwan still can continue being the leading position if we put efforts on R&D.
And you are riding on a wave. This is exactly the time you need to double down.
Or I did not realize I am actually running to be the first Asian woman in the state senate. Our next generation, they can see Asian American is as equal and have the same platform.
Taiwan Talks provides a platform for the voices and perspectives that are shaping our country.
For more stories from Taiwan, around the world, and in front of a World War II-era aircraft carrier, please download the TaiwanPlus app. It's bigger than it looks.
Start your weekend with a cup of coffee and a moment to reflect on what happened this week.
Hello and welcome.
We've got you covered, from defense and politics to high-tech and the arts.
Not just to Taiwan, the whole world is watching.
You make the coffee,
we make the news.
Here's what happened on TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Vietnam has signed dozens of deals with China during Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Hanoi. After holding talks with Vietnam's Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh and Communist Party General Secretary To Lam, the two countries agreed to strengthen ties in production, supply chains, and transportation. The talks come amid ongoing tariff tensions with the U.S., with Beijing hit with duties of 145% and Hanoi of 46%. Xi addressed the U.S.'s measures in an editorial published in both Vietnam and China, saying there are no winners in a trade war or a tariff war. The Chinese leader is set to visit Malaysia and Cambodia. U.S. President Donald Trump now says Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Vietnam is targeting the U.S. To learn more about Xi's Southeast Asia trip, our reporter Adil Brar spoke to Jia-Yan Chong, Associate Professor of Political Science at National University of Singapore.
Chinese President Xi Jinping is aiming to work with Vietnam to counter the U.S. tariffs. What does this entail, and how receptive is Hanoi to this?
So there's a good chance that Hanoi will say some of the things that Beijing likes to hear. But ultimately, Hanoi, I think, will be wary about being too dependent on the PRC, and they will also be wary about upsetting the United States. So I think Hanoi will ultimately still try to find ways of negotiating with Washington, even as it tries to perhaps satisfy Xi Jinping at least rhetorically.
Can China rely on Southeast Asian countries to offset the challenges it faces from the US tariffs?
The PRC will try, but it's going to be difficult. It'll be difficult because even prior to the tariffs, the last round of the US-PRC trade war has seen the PRC divert some of its trade towards Southeast Asia. That has led to some complaints of overcapacity. That has led to some concerns about local businesses being put under pressure by cheaper Chinese goods, especially small and medium-sized enterprises. The current round of the trade war will likely intensify these pressures. So Southeast Asia, I think, while they want opportunities to cooperate with the PRC, they will be wary of overcapacity and protection of their own industries too. At the same time, I think what the PRC can offer is somewhat limited.
How will the US respond if Vietnam agrees to expand trade with China, as the Trump administration is working towards closing the trade loopholes?
So I believe the Trump administration will at least respond strongly in rhetoric to Beijing. It may slap on more punishment, more tariffs, but at this point, any additional tariff, the sort of effect is already more muted. We're in the area of sort of diminishing marginal returns for additional tariffs. The question is whether the Trump administration also decides to punish Vietnam and Hanoi. So I guess that is where Hanoi will be, I think, quite quick to try to assure Washington that it does not seek to act in ways that are detrimental to U.S. interests.
That was Jiayan Chong, a political scientist at the National University of Singapore. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has voiced concern over reports that Russia is hoping to base military aircraft in Indonesia. A report by defense intelligence website Janes said Moscow has filed a request to base aircraft in Indonesia's Papua region about 1,500 kilometers from Australia. Albanese said Australia does not want to see Russian influence in the region. Indonesia has not yet commented on the request. The Trump administration is planning to cut the budget for the U.S. State Department by nearly half, according to an internal memo. Other cuts include funding for international organizations, as well as an end to all funding for the United Nations and NATO. The memo also proposes large cuts in funding for humanitarian assistance and global health programs. The plans have not yet been agreed by the administration and would still need to be approved by Congress. A new art exhibition in Taipei is raising awareness of Hong Kong's struggle for democracy and Beijing's crackdown in response. It comes as Taiwan is re-examining its relationship with Hong Kongers nearly 5 years after massive anti-government protests in the territory. Rick Liao reports.
An expression of Hong Kong's dwindling press freedom. Origami made from one of the last ever pro-democracy newspapers in the city, now on display in Taiwan. Part of an exhibition showing how Hong Kong stood up to Chinese rule and demanded democracy, and how Beijing brutally cracked down. Protest art like this could see Hong Kongers put in jail for subversion in their city. Organisers say free and democratic Taiwan has a responsibility to tell Hong Kong's story.
虽然中国并没有统治台湾，但是中国影响香港的方式，其实一定程度上还是影响了台湾。所以这也是台湾社会为什么要举办这样的展览，或者是跟香港朋友一起去面对一个独裁的政权一样。
Taiwan could face a fate just like Hong Kong's. China also claims Taiwan as its territory and threatens to take it by force. Many people here saw Hong Kong's struggle as their own, supporting the city's pro-democracy activists as they stood up to the Chinese Communist Party. And when Beijing moved to suppress them, many dissidents found refuge in Taiwan. Taiwan's relationship with Hong Kongers is changing. Since the 2019 protests, the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, has tightened its grip on Hong Kong, dismantling a once free press and independent legislature. And Hong Kongers in Taiwan are now being looked at with greater suspicion.
When the revolution of our time started, Hong Kongers were seen as a defiance of CCP. It is our sad fate that the identity of Hong Kong is slowly changing and manipulated by the CCP.
Taiwan is mulling stricter immigration rules for Hong Kong citizens, something it says is necessary to crack down on Chinese espionage.
There may be some national security concern in certain cases, and government they need more time to review it. And it would be also very important for Taiwanese government to restore the confidence in the Hong Kong immigrants.
Trust is low among Hong Kongers. The city's artists travel to Taiwan in secret to share their art, careful not to reveal their identity even here, knowing the long reach of the Chinese Communist Party. This exhibition is a show of support for Hong Kong's struggle against Beijing. But as the Communist Party tightens its grip of the city, Taiwan is also having to re-examine how it treats those from Hong Kong. Easton Chen and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out this ski and snowboarding competition in Switzerland, where one competitor landed a historic snowboard quad flip. That's something else. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.